Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. It's coming up to 2 o'clock on a Thursday, and today we're going to be looking at the M300 RTK and the H20 series, specifically for drone inspection. I'll quickly put my my video on so everyone can see me. Working from the office today, which is a nice change of pace. So I hope everyone's well and staying safe out there. Bit of an awkward time at the moment, but yeah, we'll get through it. What I will say is, if anyone's having any problems with sound or with video, or you can't see the screen, stick something in chat, potentially refresh it, and I'm sure it'll carry on working. Got a couple of videos today. We've got some good case study use cases for the H20, and then we're also going to have a quick look at the new sensors which are coming out in the next couple of weeks. So to get started, everything we'll be discussing is there on the right. We've got the Matrice 300 RTK and the two very impressive H20 and H20T sensors below. My name is George Byrne, and I'm obviously a UAV strategist here at Copters, as it says below. I work primarily with utilities, asset inspection and integrity, renewables, and the oil and gas industry. We do a lot with asset maintenance, and the M300 is properly geared up for that industry. It's a real workhorse. I think the M300 and the cameras that we're going to discuss today really simplify a lot of things and make things a lot easier to do and see, which is why we're here. We're here to show you what exactly it can do. Just a little bit on Copters. So we've been around. Well, I've been at Copters nearly 4 years now, actually. So coming up on 4 years. Copters has been going for just over 5, and we've come from the marine industry where safety was paramount. It was all about safety equipment and doing everything correctly to the book. And it was in a discussion with a potential customer that drones, the idea of drones was born. And obviously Copters didn't come too far after that. We are quite large in the police and military sector at the moment, as well as surveying. We have a very large say in that with the Wingtra, the Parrot Ace Core LiDAR equipment, and obviously Pixel D. But also that asset integrity. DJI, as you see there at the bottom, they're the manufacturer of the M300 and the H20 series, and all where credit's due, they are tremendous. Their equipment they're the Apple of the drone world, some may say, and it's really tremendous equipment. Lots of money gets put into these things, and you can see really well that it's paying off, because their user interface and the actual equipment itself, the specification is really good, which we'll go into more detail on. Obviously today you're with me, so we're looking at the inspection side of drones, but we also have some really intelligent blokes who look over the surveying, the public safety, and then some average intelligent blokes looking after starting a drone business and real estate and property. I'm only joking. Everyone's really good at what they do, really caring. Yeah, we pride ourselves on being experts. So adding that consultancy and adding that bit of that knowledge, that it's not just going to help you choose what drone, but look at the application as well. So if you were to say you're looking at the M300 for a certain application, we could potentially open the door to a couple other ideas. We're very relevant in the industry, and we like to help as many people out as we can, if that's with a bit of consultation, or even the idea of putting people in touch with one another and creating that collaboration. Some of the companies I work with quite closely, we source a lot of drone equipment and drone technology. If it's software, equipment, or training, we like to do things 360 sort of solution, an umbrella to fully satisfy our customers' needs. And these are some of the customers that we work with quite closely. As you can see, it's quite construction based, quite inspection based, and it's sort of tailored these names just for this webinar, as the M300 has a specific positioning in the market, and especially with the H20 and H20T being a real asset for companies like this. So the big question for anybody who is unfamiliar to the drone industry and what they're currently being used for is why use drones? What's the trade-off? What are you looking to gain from using drones compared to more traditional methods? And that really comes down to, and we like to point out where they're being used as well. So obviously the big thing for a lot of companies is safety, especially in the oil and gas industry and the power gen. Putting people in confined spaces or up on scaffolding or rope access can be quite dangerous in certain times. Another reason is the speed of service. So you can get up and get an aerial shot, an aerial inspection in a matter of seconds rather than days. And then obviously shutdown times as well. And obviously with that speed, you're not having to spend long, drawn out days and weeks on site, shutting down certain sites and plants, costing the end customer a lot of money. Obviously with the utilities, a lot of the time it's looking to save money for the end customer. So everybody who pays a water bill, everyone who pays an energy bill, it's about reducing the costs for the end customer, because in their industry it's quite competitive. You can change energy providers, change water providers a lot of the time, and what they're trying to do is to reduce their costs within, to reduce costs for the end customer. And the same with property as well. You know, why are drones being used for property? Well, you know, it can be quite an expensive, dangerous task putting a full scaffolding up a building just to find that one tile is missing, or there's been a storm and a couple of tiles have got loose. You know, you can get up with a drone and find that quite easily. And you know, some people might say, well, why can't you just do that with a camera on a stick? Yeah, that's got its applications, absolutely. I'm not taking away from, you know, current traditional methods, but drones do offer that really good insight into what is up there. And you know, if it's a building which is difficult to get to, you know, a camera on a pole, unless it's, you know, Stretch Armstrong's holding it, you're never really going to get to where you need to. So just some of the key applications there. And just to highlight exactly what I mean by them, it really is all about improving the safety, reducing your downtime, and lowering your costs. As you can see, there's the Helios 2 in action, one of our confined space drones. So moving on and looking at what everybody is here to talk about, and that is the Zenmuse H20 series. Now you may have seen this, you know, it's been out for about 6 months now. I know, and I can see a couple of attendees who have already procured this sort of drone. Any questions, by the way? If you've got any questions, stick them in the questions box. I'll try and answer them as we're going on the flow. Yeah, anything you want to reach out to me, there's as a tab below, you can get my email address and fire me something through, or, you know, give me a call. We're all relatively friendly bunch here, so I'm sure we can help you with that. But yeah, as I was saying, the H20 series, as you can see, the H20 is a DJI product, and it fits primarily to the Matrice 300. Now there's two versions of this H20 series. There's the regular visual, zoom and laser rangefinder, and then there's the thermal option, which gives you a 640 30Hz resolution thermal camera, which is, in the thermal world, is a top of the line thermal camera, perfect for any sort of solar or thermal inspections that you're currently doing. We've got a really good video I've done with Seven Trent. You may have seen it if you follow me on LinkedIn, but we've got a good video which I can show you later on in the slides. Just before we do that though, the actual aircraft that the cameras connect to is a really interesting and well, yeah, very noteworthy aircraft to talk about, Matrice 300. This is a system which it really has blown a lot of people away. It's got you may look at that 15 kilometers of transmission and say, well, I can only go up to 500 meters away. Well, that's true, but what that obviously gives you is a stronger signal. So if you're working around, large metallic buildings, or there's, metallic interference, or whatever it is, you know that you're going to have the best chance at fighting that and keeping control of the drone with the Matrice 300. Obviously, it's increased flight time, and I've got a slide with the different flight times you will get with the different cameras. But it's just another really good safety feature. Because if you're out working in very strong winds, the motors are going to be working a lot faster, more energy is going to be consumed. And if you are using a sort of an older drone or a smaller drone or something with only about 30 minutes, you're going to deplete that a lot faster. Now with the M300, obviously working in different temperatures and working to an IP rating of 45, these are only some of the key characteristics. The Matrice 300 also has dual IMU, it has dual battery redundancy, so that meaning that if a battery goes down or it fails, you'll still be able to land the drone. And it also has propeller redundancy as well. So the Matrice 300 is the first of the aircrafts to maintain its flight, and it will land safely on 3 propellers, which is really good for a quadcopter. And that really does fight the battle of quadcopters versus multi-rotors like the M600. Also, hot swappable batteries is something very useful. And if you're used to going out and doing sort of survey work, having your camera in, you have to power down your drone just to change the batteries. Now, what this allows you to do is keep one battery in, keep the aircraft running, and then stick the other battery in, and away you go. Really useful thing to have. It keeps all of the software running. You're not having to reboot anything, and obviously you do have the ability to keep the camera running as well, so you're always constantly recording. There's a couple of configurations how you can hold the different sensors. Obviously, we've got single downwards, we've got single downward with a single upward facing gimbal, which is brilliant for bridge inspections, anything where you really need to get underneath or close to without actually seeing it. A bit like overhangs. I know there's a couple of buildings and a couple of factories who I've been speaking with recently where they've got a very similar application to that, and they need to get something which can go underneath but still maintain its the wind, because in some of the northern parts it's terrible winds most of the time of the year. And then obviously you get the dual downward and single upward. Now dual downward is brilliant, and that got introduced on the Matrice 210. So what this allows you to do, and the configuration we've got here, for example, is a spotlight, and also the H20. That allows you to, so if you were search and rescue or you were police and you were looking for a body or something, you'll be able to configure the camera so they're looking at the same thing. So whatever your visual camera is looking at, you're going to have that wide beam of light circulating the actual viewpoint, which is brilliant for looking to things. But also on the flip side, you can put a H20 on there and the Z30, or you've got multiple different options to put there. And with the SDK, so the SDK is where DJI have opened up the Skyport. So the Skyport's where the camera goes into. Now DJI, really, really good of them to do this. It's truly opening up the market and transporting the drone industry to next level, because them opening up that Skyport is giving sensor makers the ability to put different sensors onto different drones. And for owners of the Matrice 300, that's really exciting, because now you can start looking at different sensors for different applications and not have to buy a whole new drone. This is becoming a workhorse, which is allowing people to do multiple different applications under one system. And that's sort of what everybody's been asking for over the last 5 years. Since I've started working in the drone industry, it's really been a case of a new drone will come out in 12 months time or 16 months time, but the Matrice 300 is really being geared up to stay, and we're really excited for what it's got in the future. So just to give you a close-up on the H20 and the H20T. So I think I skipped a little slide there. So the flight times I mentioned quite briefly there, without any payloads, you're looking at 55 minutes. With a H20C, you're looking around about 43, 44 minutes. A H20, 45 minutes, which if you compare that to the Matrice or, you know, even Phantoms, you're talking 25, 30 minutes flight time. So a significant improvement, which is brilliant for maintaining sort of long inspections or long surveys, and even, you know, in stronger wind conditions where the motors have to work a little bit harder, use a little bit more energy, you're still going to maintain a really good flight time. So yeah, as I said, a close-up on the two cameras. We've got the H20 and the H20T. H20, really good specs on this. 20 megapixel zoom camera, 11 megapixel wide lens, and also that's optical zoom as well. So it's got 20 times optical zoom. Now, what that means is, and you compare it to the Z30, because a lot of people remember the Z30 for the M200 series. Now, not only do you have 20 times optical zoom, which allows you to zoom really far in without distorting the image or digitally enhancing it, it also means that when you do zoom into that point, you've got a 20 megapixel image. Now, if you're doing an inspection and you're having to zoom in, say, 50, 100 meters, you know, and you can't get as close to the asset as you want, you've still got a 20 megapixel image from where that zoom has ended up. So you compare that to the, you know, the Phantom 4 Pro, or, you know, the Mavic 2 Pro. It's like having a Mavic 2 Pro on a telescope, which can go up to sort of 100 meters. So it's a really good asset to have, and a really good, and it's been a really good selling point. I know I say selling point, but you talk about different selling opportunities to the customer, to the end customer. So if you're an inspection engineer, it's how can you be as safe as possible to the end client, to the, you know, the asset owner. How are you going to give the most benefit? And keeping a safe distance where you can zoom in is a really good benefit to give. Obviously, we've got the H20T on the right. Now, this is exactly the same. It's got the laser rangefinder as well, which I've got a good slide to show you on that just coming up. So hold your horses. But it also has a 640 radiometric thermal camera, which if you've used it or you've seen it, you'll know how good it is. It's amazing. It really is a good level of thermal camera. And every day there seems to be a new update on what new software it can be used on. Yeah, we're excited to see how people are going to use it, especially for the mapping side and capturing that really good quality data. It's going to be a really good camera going into the rest of the year. One of the big features, and we actually did a webinar about 6 months ago with DJI on this, and this is the Smart Inspection, and we'll send you a link once we're done to the full webinar on that, where we actually pinpointed how the Smart Inspect features work. But essentially, you've got some really good applications that are new to the M300. For the inspection side of the thing, the AI spot check really is one of the big ones. What it allows you to do is get to a single point, and it will capture exactly where you are, and it'll zoom into what you need to see. So if you're doing changeover time on a roof, perhaps, or you're looking at, say, this pylon, and you want to make sure that there's no wear and tear on a single beam over 6 months, and you go back every week, all you have to do is press the single button, and it will remember exactly where it was in the air, and then it will go back and it will zoom into that single point. Now this is a function for inspection engineers which is going to save a lot of time, and that's the key thing. It's time saving. The same with live mission recording. You'll be able to take off and go and actually use that to automate your missions, and that's where AI spot check and the live mission really becomes really good. Obviously, Waypoint 2.0 is going to be great as well. That's going to be used for your mapping and your mission planning, and it's going to give users, you know, that peace of mind that yeah, it can do what it says on the tin, and you're going to be able to use a similar sort of application to Pixel Capture, but just a little bit further ahead. And then obviously the dual control as well. So either operator, so if you've got dual operators, you've got two controllers, either one can fly, and it just takes a click of a button to transfer them over. And so if you're doing a larger mission and you don't want to break any rules and you want to stay you know, stay connected to the drone within 500 meters, this is the way to do it. Really good way of doing that. Let's have a look at the H20T in a little bit more clarity. So the H20T, sorry, I've got the box flying around my screen. So in terms of an IP rating, still IP44, which is fantastic. The only thing you've got to worry about is getting moisture on the lens. But even in the event that you do get caught out in a storm, or there is spray from somewhere, you're safe. You know that your drone isn't going to malfunction. You know that it's not going to start behaving funny. It's not going to break. And essentially, we've got the H20T up here as opposed to H20 because the H20T is the H20 just with that extra thermal camera. Now, if you've got any questions on what this can do and what it can work with, send them through. We've got sort of a bit of a list of what's applicable with it, yeah, it'd be good to reach out to you on that. I will highlight quickly the precise data that it can capture. So the laser rangefinder, which you see there, is it goes up to 1,200 meters. Now, what that means is you can pick out a coordinate. So if you're looking at something, say, and I watched a really good video a couple of weeks ago, and I watched it again this morning, where the police were looking for a weapon on the ground. And what that laser rangefinder means is if you're in the air, that laser rangefinder can pick a position out with the laser, and it can give you a precise location of where that laser is pointing at. So now, when you have your inspection, it doesn't matter where the drone is, wherever your zoom camera, because what you can do is you can zoom right in, so you can zoom in 100 meters, and you could look at things, and then you could just pick out, and you'll record the actual location using the camera, and then when you go to do your report writing, you can actually find exactly where on the roof or where on the field the weapon was found, or where the broken tire was found, just by using that laser rangefinder. So that's one of the great applications. The second great application is because you know the y-axis, you know the x-axis. So because you know how far away that distance is, you can actually now estimate the size of what you're looking at as well. So a great application in a software we provide called Ava. And this allows you to actually, when you're doing your report writing and your inspections, whatever you're looking at, and you've got the rangefinder looking at, you will actually be able to say, so today we're flying 50 meters away from a wall, and there is a window. We want to measure the window, just for example. You'll be able to zoom right in, and because you can see the window and the rangefinder's pointed at it, it knows how far away it is. And because it's got that, it can estimate, and it can work out a really good precise distance of that window and of that measurement. So that's something that's now been added automatically into Ava. So everything you're looking at, you can pull out an image, you can do a measurement, and then you can stick that in your report for whatever customer or whoever you're presenting that to. Another big thing at the moment with drone cameras is the zoom. And I don't want anybody to get confused with digital and optical zoom, because they're very different. Digital zoom will enhance the image using its computer. So it's a single image that it's capturing, but it's using in the enhancements to zoom in on that single image. So in terms of the megapixels, you're always going to be losing quality every time you zoom in. Whereas with an optical camera, it's like a telescope. So it's using like a telescopic lens on a camera. It's using different telescopes essentially to zoom in on a point of view, and then using the 20 megapixel, as I said before, you get still that great quality. If you compare it back to something like the Z30, which came out about 3 or 4 years ago, people are still using it this day because it's a great camera. That was only 4 megapixels. So this is over 4 times as powerful. And yeah, it's available on the 300. Brilliant. And finally, just to finish up on that, basically these are some of the great applications, just a bit of a summary of them. Obviously, you've got the radiometric, the laser rangefinder we're speaking about, the 23 times hybrid optical, so you've got 20 times optical and then 3 times digital, but it can zoom in a lot further than that as well. And then obviously that 20 megapixel camera quality. We've got some good videos I'll bring up in a second. The wide lens, wide angle as well, is a lifesaver when you're zoomed in on something. You just want to quickly see a wider angle of where exactly you are, which, you know, very useful for when you're understanding what you're looking at. IP rating for safety, for the idea of redundancy, and operating temperatures. I can't imagine it's going to get to -20 anytime in Leeds, but if you're working up in the north, it can be very useful. So especially when you're setting off. It's no longer a case of sticking your batteries under your armpits, which I imagine will seem very unusual to a lot of people. But back in the day when drones were first starting up, that was a way that a lot of the camera photographers who were using drones to go out and shoot Arctic shots, that's how they were doing that. So it's great that they've got self-heating batteries, and obviously the operating temperature has increased. Image stabilization, something that we'll pick up on in a video that I've got, the Z30 compared to the H20. The actual stabilization means that basically the stability of the shot that you're seeing. So whatever you're looking at, it's not jiggling about, it's not being distorted. You're capturing a really good, crisp image that's not moving. And even in high winds or bad weather, it's still staying really firm, so you can better understand what you're looking at. And then finally, the night scene mode, something which I have yet to do in practice, but I've read up on it, and we've got some, as I said, the inspection webinar we mentioned it briefly in that. So when we send out the thank you email for joining us, we'll put a link to the Smart Inspect webinar as well. So this is a video. Apologies if it doesn't come through as clearly as possible. We will include this video on the email that you received. But essentially, what you see there is the H20 camera with the thermal scope as well. So that's me. We're working with Severn Trent, actually a water company, swapping between the cameras at the moment. Obviously, we're quite high up. I think we're about 50 meters. And we're looking for any sort of any breakage in the solar panels. And what you're seeing, and you'll be thinking, oh, there's a couple of hotspots there, and that's where there's been bird muck actually landed on the panels, and it's caused the single parts to overheat. Now, speaking to some of the team, this causes quite a lot of damage, and it can sometimes cause them to replace the whole panel. And usually what they do is they send a guy around and inspect them all. But some of these are quite difficult to get to, can be quite dangerous. So using a drone is what they're planning to do. And obviously using that zoom camera, you can identify with the thermal, zoom in with the visual, and then zoom in with the thermal as well. Now the thermal camera zoom is truly remarkable, as you can see. So even if it's flying at a high distance, you can still zoom in, and you don't lose that much resolution with the thermal camera. And yeah, there's a lovely shot of some bird poo there. So moving on to how you can use that data. So the data recorded using the laser rangefinder is really useful. Now, you've got to remember every shot, every photo that you take with a drone captures a timestamp, so it captures an altitude and a positioning. Obviously, the positioning is a lot more heightened if it's RTK, but what it will do is it will place that position on a map. Well, it does in Ava anyway. So Ava, the idea around this capture and report software is you capture it, upload it, process it, you see how the data is recorded, you report on it to your end customer, and then you can share it. It's as simple as that. 5 steps really could be made into 3: capture, report, share. That's all it is. But essentially, this is what you see in that application, and this is the M300 in work. And so there's thousands of images being taken over this island over pylons, and what those numbers are signifying in the circles are the amount of images that are captured at that single point. So if we were to zoom in a little bit further to that, maybe click on one of the numbers, what you'd see is the actual asset that you're looking at, and then a positioning, a heading of that image. Now, you're probably thinking, I've signed in to watch the H20, you know, see how that works. But this is how it really ties in well with Ava and some of this new reporting software which is coming out on the market at the moment. As you see, every image there is the positioning of the drone and which way the camera is looking. Now, what that means, when you have an image that you're looking at, the laser pointer will be looking at it as well, and it will see exactly what you want to see. Now, when you zoom in on that, it will give you a measurement of that crack. So as we see on the left, the drone is looking at a wall with its laser rangefinder. And because it's enabled to use that data collected, you can be at a distance of, and I think it was up to 1,200 meters. You can be up to a distance of that, you know, obviously that's quite a far distance, but you get the idea. And you can zoom in, not even zoom in, use that rangefinder to identify the size of the crack, deformity, anything you want to do, and basically draw a box around it, change the severity, write a little comment, tell them what they need to do in terms of a remedy, and then it creates into a lovely little report for you to send on to the end client. And that alone on the laser rangefinder was something for me to go, wow, that's really, you know, groundbreaking stuff. Now, this is a little video. Apologies, it's from some of our friends over in America. But what we are seeing is the Z30 compared to the H20 here. So the Z30, 30 times optical zoom, the H20, 20 times. But what you get with the H20 is 20 megapixels of data, which is truly brilliant. So there you're zooming in on the cars, and this is the H20. So a little bit further out, but a lot better resolution. So when it comes to your asset inspection and you're actually, you know, reporting on this data, and just look how stable that is. You know, what was it, 400 meters, he said? 470 meters, and they're able to read license plates. Imagine what it can do for an asset inspection. And obviously in the bottom right there, you still have the FPV camera. So the M300 comes with a built-in camera. So even if you have, you know, got it fully zoomed in, you still know exactly what it's looking at, where it is in terms of on the map. And then on the left, the bottom left-hand side, see if I can just take that back, you have the map on the bottom left, which gives you a positioning of the drone. So with that will be able to give you a distance. It also has at the bottom a positioning of the image, so where that car is. So if you are a first response team or you're looking for, you know, a car, you can send that positioning onto the you know, the first response team, and they can go and apprehend, or they can find, you know, a broken tile, broken rooftop. You know, if there's a mains leak and, you know, you're the first responders to a utility company, you can go out and you can find that really quickly, really easy, and get it sorted. And with that, I want to introduce you to two new cameras from DJI. It's the P1 and the L1. Now, two sensors which are going to be really good for the industrial side of drones. The P1 is the photogrammetry sensor, the Zenus P1, and this is a 45 megapixel full frame sensor. So in terms of capturing still images for photogrammetry, which is creating 3D models for survey of a mapping, this is truly, you know, groundbreaking stuff. It's going to be amazing. We have just done a bunch of trials with it, tested it with one of our customers, and the results, I was speaking to our survey team, head of it, James, who just said it is truly brilliant. It is one of those cameras which, yeah, it'll blow you away. With the accuracy, obviously with the RTK enabled, either using your ground control station or you know, a SIM card with a network license, it's going to give you some really good data. Now, on the other side, we've got the L1 coming out, which is the LiDAR. Now, traditionally, LiDAR has been a very expensive platform to use, giving you really good data, but it's been an expensive thing to do. Talking usually between 40 to 50 grand to start with just for the sensor. The L1 has come out significantly cheaper than that. And if you want to know prices, I can't tell you right now, but you can find me an email through and I can send you some details on it. But it's definitely under 15 grand, which is really good price point for surveyors and for drone enthusiasts looking to get into that mapping sector. And the benefit of LiDAR compared to photogrammetry is you can penetrate through foliage, or you can get through the gaps at least. So when you're looking at a true topography, or you're looking to look at a good example is train tracks. And sometimes the trees and foliage grows up too high, and it can cause subsidence, and you can miss it because there's grass over it or there's trees over it. So what this allows you to do is penetrate through that and get a true topo and a true idea of the land, a true lie of the land, so to say. But this is coming all fully configured through DJI, so it's a working bit of kit with no third-party application. It is all going to work through the controller that you operate. Really exciting, especially on our survey side. And I'll just go through photogrammetry a little bit so you understand exactly what I'm talking about, because I know it can be a little bit alien to a lot of people, but it's basically an affordable method of data capture. Taking aerial shots and then putting them into a software which creates a 3D image. And I mean, it started out with the Inspires and the Phantoms, and as technology is getting better and better, like it is with the P1, it's now becoming an affordable situation where you can go out and you can capture really great data and get survey grade accuracy. And that is the key thing with the M300 RTK and the P1, is survey grade accuracy. And this is actually done with the Phantom, but a really good example of what you're capable of achieving is photogrammetry to a certain extent. Now, if you're looking to record and capture a building that is potentially going to be knocked down, or it's falling apart, you want to keep that 3D image saved for later years, so you know how to rebuild it, or you know what it once looked like. There's a magnitude of different applications that it can be used for. As you see here, you can create the 3D image, you can plant it onto different maps, run that into different softwares, and this is all images taken from a drone and then put into a software. So if we were to zoom in, we'd be able to see individual rocks and individual crevices, which really great detail, and not very difficult to do either. I mean, we run courses on this to make this accessible and easy to use. And that's what's great about DJI and the likes of Pix4D and Cloud Conversion or Digital Twin. It's easy to use. It's designed to be easy to use and easy to maintain. And then just a quick one on LiDAR, because obviously the L1 LiDAR this is the sort of data that you can pull out. It creates lots of point clouds, and it's very quick to do so. Photogrammetry, you have to process it. You usually have to have a quite strong computer with decent graphics card, memory, RAM. With LiDAR, you can do it almost on the spot, giving you maps like this, which was a race course, I believe, a colleague of mine did. And then what you're able to do with that is you can strip back certain layers, strip back the buildings, so you're left with just the land. Really good models for certain applications. And that is kind of where we're gonna leave it, guys. I really appreciate you joining this. When I say leave it, we'll get onto a bit of a Q&A, so you can fire some questions through. We can get some good discussions going. So if you do have any questions, fire them into the chat. I don't know if you have been or not. I haven't been able to see them till now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and answer as many as I can. But yeah, just to sort of tell you a bit more about copters. Obviously, this is what we do, and we love doing it because it gives a lot of people a lot of benefit. Giving that expertise and helping businesses and people thrive by incorporating drones into a more traditional method. And if we can help do that, that's something that we really cherish. So obviously we do the equipment, the payloads, as we've spoken about. We obviously look at the different softwares and how to do things, and that's where we really try and be experts on. So moving on to a bit of a Q&A. So a question on the H20 extracting the raw image. Now that can be done with the P1 that's going to come out. Obviously with the H20, it's still JPEG at the moment. There may be, and there was discussions of this about a month ago about converting the images. So we're still waiting on sort of the DJI wizards at the moment to bring this out. But yeah, keep an eye out, because it's really going to be a great platform. And you compare this to some sort of the industry standard drones at the moment. This is going to be the industry standard without a shadow of a doubt. I can put money on it. It's already being incorporated heavily in the US, all over the police forces in the UK. It's one of those platforms which is here to stay. So I'm sure DJI are very keen to get that integration completed. And there's going to be a bit of an AVA course, which is AVA/Skibito, and we're going to run through sort of how it works, how it's used. At the moment with COVID, it is kind of tricky to do anything in person, and with with safety in mind, we are going to be doing e-learning as much as we can, which is a shame, because I'm like a lot of people. It's nice to have that face-to-face contact, and face-to-face learning is always a nicer touch. But trust us, it will be coming out very soon. Yeah, so SD cards are located in the cameras. So in the cameras, so it's capturing it straight from the actual camera to the SD card. And obviously, when you bring the drone down, you can replace those SD cards if they're full, and those SD cards can then be transferred straight into a computer or whatever you're looking to use them for. So yeah, really easy system. It also does get recorded on the application as well, all your flights, which can be uploaded to the cloud and transferred to different aircrafts. So measurements on certain applications, including towers and pylons, can be done pretty easily. You can either use something like Pixel and capture it in a photogrammetry sense, or use LiDAR and then use that. It can be done on AVA as well. It's not going to give you as high accuracy as it would, but you take a higher image, well, a further out image, and then you would just use the measurement tool to understand how far that is. But if you were looking for the best application and the easiest, I'd probably say it is photogrammetry. Yeah, so high resolution grid. This is one of the new inspection techniques that have come out. So it'll take, if you're looking at a single image or a single asset, say like a pylon, and just one of the arms, you can take, what it basically does is you draw a grid on your screen, and it captures lots of images and it stitches them together, so it's all high resolution. You will have seen this on the new Mavics which come out, which say they're 48 megapixel resolution cameras. Sadly, that's not the case. They're actually 12 megapixels. But what they do is they stitch 4 images together, which does give you a good image, but in terms of an inspection application, not amazing. With the already high resolution H20 camera, you're going to get a good image that you can also stick into some of these smart inspection techniques, which really good. And even the smart follow, if you're doing any sort of filming with cars, or you're following anyone. And I know my colleagues in the office today, we were chatting about the search and rescue and the police application. It's really good. It's a really useful piece of kit for that. If there is any further questions on the equipment, you'll get an email me with just a bit of a thanks for turning up and listening to me chatter on. I hope I've been useful. If there is anything else anybody's got, want to go through, by all means, drop me a call, shoot me an email, and we can go from there. But it's been really, I've enjoyed today. It's a camera and it's a drone, which we're really excited about. I know it's maybe not gone into as much depth as everybody would have liked, but I've tried to keep it as as light and informative as possible, and highlight some of the great applications. Thank you very much for joining me. If there is anything else, let us know. But contact me on the below email if you're looking for prices or a bespoke solution. Obviously, we are a gold level reseller here in the UK, so top tier. So we also do all the training software as well to make sure that you don't really have to go anywhere else and it's all under one roof, and you've always got one person you can just rely on. But thank you very much for your time, and yeah, look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.